Hello everyone, this is Corey. Welcome to my second watercolor tutorial. I have to apologize in advance because at one point while I was filming, my phone ran out of storage space, so it cut off the video right in the middle. So there's a little bit of a jump near the end of the video. I'm sorry, part of the painting is missing. I apologize. I'll do better next time. But anyway, let me go ahead and jump right in. So this is a kind of tutorial about how to paint eyes, and I like to start with a very light pencil sketch on any painting so that my object is outlined first. I use a 4H pencil, and then for this one I decided to do an underpainting. These can be really nice, just putting a monochromatic color down to sort of block out your areas of light and dark. And I use green on this because the girl that I'm painting had kind of an olive tone to her skin, so that underpainting green worked out nicely. I meant maybe a little darker than I would have liked to start, but it winds up getting all blended in. And so now I have moved on to skin tones, as you can see. And I use for my skin tones generally raw sienna and burnt sienna, and then some cadmium red light. Sometimes I'll add, if I want a little more of a red color, a little bit of alizarin crimson, and then I will also add just a touch of ultramarine blue to sort of tone down the reds. So that is what I did with this, and it works pretty well for the lights and darks. Obviously, the more water you add, the lighter the skin tone color will be. And then it's just all about layering over and over again. So you have to be a little bit patient, and after you lay down a layer of paint, go ahead and let it completely dry, and then go back over with the next layer. For the eyes, I really love, actually probably one of my most used colors is Payne's Gray. It's a really, really deep, almost navy kind of blue, but it's just really lovely. So I'm using that for almost all of the darks in the eye, although for the pupil I did use black. So that Payne's Gray is really nice. And then I also used ultramarine blue, a little bit of, I think, manganese and cobalt blue in there, just very lightly. And when you overlay that on top of the green, it gives it a little bit of a teal look. And that was nice because in the photograph of this girl, she had kind of a teal color to her eyes. And by the way, I got my reference photo I got from a site called Unsplash. They have pretty much all their images are copyright free, which is wonderful. So they do give you license to be able to use any of the images. You don't have to give credit, although I went ahead and listed the credit info of the photographer in the description of this video. So if you wanted to see the original image, you can look at that. For the shadows, I used quite a bit of like a red purple kind of color. So a lot of the shadows of the eye are that darker skin tone plus overlaid purple. I use a cooler red and warmer blue. So alizarin crimson is a cool red versus the cadmium red, and then ultramarine blue tends to be a little more on the warmer end of the spectrum rather than like manganese or cobalt blue. So the purples, the skin tone, of course, again, that Payne's Gray I use for the really, really dark shadows on the skin, and just painting over and over. I also used the Payne's Gray for the shadowing in the eye, but there's also alizarin crimson in there. There's also a bit of manganese blue, ultramarine blue, and you can see there on the right side of the eye, I am adding a little more red and kind of purple, and then smoothing it out. So I like to use a certain amount of wet into wet technique, but then also plenty of waiting for it to completely dry and then going back over, because otherwise if you use too much of the wet into wet technique, your colors are going to bleed together a little too much and get kind of muddy. So it can be an exercise in patience to just let it sit. And I sometimes do have to remind myself, okay, you have to walk away for a few minutes, let it dry, and then come back. Another color that I forgot to mention that I use quite a lot is burnt sienna. It's just this gorgeous deep rusty orange kind of brown, and I love to overlay that for some of those warm shadows on the skin. It can be just really great for skin tones. And then adding those details, I use a round tip brush for this entire painting. Round tip brushes are my favorite because they're very versatile. You can get really fine detail by using just the tip, and you have to be really careful that you don't press too hard, so you're just getting that very fine tip. And then the side of the brush can lay down nice washes of color. There's the jump. I'm so sorry that you missed that last bit of the painting. I used Payne's Gray for the hair and then really loaded my brush up with both paint and water to create those bursts. I just blew on the paint and that's the effect it created. And then also flicked the paint to create the flecks and speckles. And then finally, going back at the end, I use a Jelly Roll white pen just to bring back some of those white details. And that was basically everything I did for this video. Again, I'm sorry too, this last little bit of footage is have some really weird color flickering, so I apologize about that. But I will do better next time. I'm still learning, still new, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please go ahead and like and subscribe, and I will post more videos again soon.